Well, okay, I'm going to say that's property to the left of the Democratic property. He also owns 139 Coles Road, which was the former road, which is now rental housing, and then the two houses across the street at 1 Juniper Court. Empire Investments is owned by an Eddie Alfano. His wife Janet donated $1,500 to the campaign. Again, this is something to expect every meeting. If there's a connection, it at least needs to be talked about. Thank you.
But Josh, before you leave, okay, this is administrative. These refunds, I think they are.
Here's one, Josh Lane.
The U.S. Vision is a street opening.
Tap it.
And I don't know, Mr. Leckner here?
The other one's probably.
Okay.
There it is.
Perhaps you can add on it, but
Escrow.
this is administrative work, this is escrow work, when they put in, I believe, for a permit.
Right, there are escrow funds for an application that went before the board. So once the application has been finalized and there's any surplus and their escrow for professional costs, they're refunded to the applicant.
I am not saying you need to vote no. I am just saying, for votes, you are Mr. Transparency, correct? These connections need to be talked about.
But Josh, if you had a project and you made a deposit down, you would get a refund as well.
You're absolutely right. I'm not
Well, this
saying
has nothing to do with what you're trying to make it.
I'm not saying you should vote no. I'm just saying that we're watching the connections. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the connections.
Anyone else? So now, let's close the first public portion. We have ordinance of second reading, and I need a motion to remove ordinance 0-11-21 from being tabled.
So the
Second. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes, and I wanted to put on the record that this is a change in my opinion on this issue from a few years ago. I listened to and read the analysis provided by Mr. Cardis, and I am convinced that the time value of money dictates that we as council people vote in favor of this ordinance. Yes.
Mr. Grabowski?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Genter? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Ordinance 0-11-21. Final ordinance authorizing the acquisition of four-wheel drive vehicles for the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, appropriating the sum of $545,500. Therefore, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds for the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, in the aggregate principal amount of $518,225, making certain determination of covenants and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing. As this was stated in the past, this bond ordinance is to authorize the purchases of four-wheel drive vehicles for the police department. Now have a hearing on this.
No, you should, I think it
This is first reading, Tim, right? You're reading.
then second
I'm
public
sorry.
hearing date for the 25th.
I'm sorry.
Is that 28?
So this is really first reading, so there's no public hearing. Motion to approve.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. Grabowski?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Genter? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Ordinance of first reading. 0-11-22. Ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, canceling certain funded appropriation balances heretofore provided for various capital projects and reappropriating such funded appropriation balances for other capital projects. This ordinance allowing the Township to cancel unused funds and reappropriate those funds for the Carroll Avenue drainage project. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. Grabowski?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt? Mrs. Genter? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Next is resolutions of consent agenda. If any council person wishes to remove any of these resolutions, please let me know now. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt? Mrs. Gentek? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Mayor's report, Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Council. First, thanks for your moving forward with this final purchase of our police vehicles. It's something that certainly is necessary. And I think as we have demonstrated, it is the right decision from a financial perspective. It's another example of taking a look at how government operates, doing it in a much more efficient manner, and certainly from a fiscal perspective, putting the taxpayers first. Also, we want to announce that today was the first day we started through our MOA delivering 20,000 new recyclable containers in Gloucester Township. We started in the Red Door section. And so over the next 3 or 4 weeks, residents will be receiving their new recycling cans with instructions attached to the can as to how to place that, what material should go in the recyclable can. And we're very excited about that program. Not only is it good from an environmental sense, but also promoting a good social cause as well. Also the shared services agreement that you entered into now with the school district, the regional school district on our energy audit. This is the next phase of that process. As you know, we've been working for the past year along with the regional school district in analyzing not only 7 of our buildings, but their 3 high schools. This is, I think, really unique. You're not finding too many municipalities that are working along with their school districts, and another example of shared services and what we're doing here in Gloucester Township. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We have no GTE Gov access questions. Now open up to the public for the second public portion. If you wish to speak on any item, please raise your hand. Joanne?
I'll speak loudly.
Your batteries on?
Joanne Carr, Chambers. But will I be recorded? That's the thing. It's working. Okay. A couple weeks ago, I came before you and I asked about a difficulty that schools were having with a lower rating. They didn't make the proficiency. And I had asked if you guys would talk amongst yourselves and see what you could do, or maybe approach them. Did you discuss it at all since last we spoke?
We have not discussed it as a council group. I have had a private conversation with some of the school board members, and they are doing what they need to do. We didn't get into specifics, but I had a few conversations with some of them. So that's what I did, and I don't know if anyone else has anything to add.
Well, I'm sure it's a complicated problem. It's not just going to take one thing to change. However, what I found out the other week is that we have no liaison with the school boards. And since the school tax takes more money than you do, I should think we would have a liaison from one of you with each of the school boards to keep us up on how the money's being spent and how we can help. I heard the mayor talking about shared services, but we have liaisons to the Historic Committee, Blackwood Lake, and all of the other things that aren't costing anything like the schools are costing. And I would like to suggest that maybe we have liaisons to each school board.
I understand the question, Joanne. However, that is an elected board. The ones that we sit on currently as council, and you correct me if I'm wrong, are appointed by council or mayor. They're the ones that we sit on now. I'm not sure if there's a statutory requirement or allowed or what have you, but they are elected boards. They're elected by the residents, those school board members. And, we, as the mayor has done a lot of, he's in constant contact with the school boards. I talk to a lot of the school boards members myself, and I'm sure the rest of my colleagues do that also. To sit on there, I'm not sure if that's something we should do, especially, I don't know how that would work with the defeated budget and all that. So I don't know if you want to continue on that, Dave.
Well, you're correct in your analysis that where you have adopted liaisons to the various other authorities, they are appointed authorities, and it's not a mandate or statutory requirement that you have a liaison to, for example, the Housing Authority, the MUA, this governing body did just by form to be present. But I think you're also correct that sitting as a member of council on the school board, as an elected body of itself, you can attend the meetings naturally, but I think to be designated as a liaison will probably give you no authority recognition other than just being there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Anyone else? Mr. Verdi?
Good evening, Dr. Berger, Joshua Berry, still haven't moved. When I started coming out and talking to you guys about a year ago, I spoke about more informative educational outlets going on in our town, and so I'd like to tonight kind of go back to those roots. And as you know, we've been doing this pay to play reform ordinance under initiative referendum, and thanks to, I would say thanks, but because of the low voter turnout, we got the signatures. It's not happening. So because of that, we've been spending a lot of time reading the Faulkner Act. If you're not familiar with this is also called the Optional Municipal Charter Act, which is essentially the Constitution for talks about how we're on, etc. For those of you up there, how many of you are experts in this or fluent in it at least?
Expert.
I wouldn't say expert, but at least have read it and are familiar with the provisions. And
I am.
okay.
Plan B of
Right. So, but who is our expert? Is that you from there? If we have questions, are you the one who?
I always hesitate calling myself an expert, but I'm familiar with the Faulkner Act, or the optional form of government, modern form of government that this township follows.
Well, I have to assume that as our solicitor, if there's one person in this town who knows it, that's got to be part of the job. So one of the things that I found going through this, sections 163 and 164, and I really didn't know this by section number, but these deals with conflicts of interest of public personnel, both appointed, elected, and hired, etc. And to summarize them, it's actually two sections, but there's 3 points in it. The first is that no one can have any interest in a company that does business with the town, right? So, for example, Mr. Hutchinson, you can't start a lawn mowing company and get a lawn mowing contract. The second point says that no one associated with the town can have either work for or get the profits from a list of competing companies. They actually enumerate what industries these are. Some of them are arcane, but one example is a railroad. Now, we don't have a railroad coming through Gloucester Township, so I'll use that as one example. For example, I'll pick up Mr. Hutchinson again. You couldn't be an employee of a railroad, or they couldn't hire a firm that you own, essentially. And the third point is that you can't get free things from any of these competing companies. So let's just say your father works for the railroad, he can't give you a free pass if it's not available to the public, or if you're an employee, and they give you that for free, right? So, is that a good enough overview? Okay. So I just want to make sure that Mr. Mankini was part of the program here. Do you guys challenge these sections in any way? Think that they're reasonable?
It's the statute. The statute speaks for itself.
Okay. Before we hire employees or before candidates are allowed to be on the ballot, is there a vetting process? Does anyone check that there are no conflicts of interest?
I can't answer that.
Well, I'm asking that as a group.
You just grouped employees with politicians.
Okay, so let's start with employees. For appointees and employees, do we check?
Do we check?
If if they're in violation of this section.
If there is a section or a violation, we'll address one before.
Imagine if there was any.
We're a civil service community, so we go through, our hiring is within the confines of the Department of Personnel.
Okay, so let's talk about appointees and politicians. And let's just even assume once they're elected, before they're sworn in, or once they're appointed and before they're sworn in, does anyone check their background? Okay, I'll assume that's a no.
I'll be honest with you, I'm listening to every question you're answering. I personally, Dan Hutchison, never look at any of this stuff, me personally. I'm trying to figure out how I would.
Well, I'm going to assume here, and maybe I'm naive, but that would be your job, Mr. Carlin, or someone's job, is to make sure if the Faulkner Act says you can't do X, that our elected officials and our appointed officials and our employees don't do X.
You know, what's jumping out to me is this. The Supreme Court of the United States will only hear an issue which is right to be heard. The questions that you're asking are hypothetical in nature, and it would be easier for us if we were to be faced with a situation and render an opinion on the exact situation.
So let's talk about something specific. Let's just say there are elected and appointed officials who are in violation of these two sections of the Faulkner Act. What do we do? What is the resolution of this?
Can you give us an example of who is in violation?
I absolutely will.
You're walking us down this path, and we are patiently waiting. Just give us the example.
I promise you will get the payout, but I want to hear from you, Mr. Carlin, here. What happens when it's discovered that someone is in violation of the Faulkner Act?
Issues go to the Trenton Local Finance Board, Department of Community Affairs.
Okay. So as a citizen, what do I do? Do I send a letter to the clerk? Do I call the DCA? Do you as a governing body take action?
Take either of those three courses. You can call the clerk, you can call council, you can call Trenton Direct.
Okay. Are you aware of any conflicts of interest that violate? Have you gotten any? I'm almost there, man. Have you gotten any opinions, or have you gotten any waivers for this? Have you spoken to anyone about the DCA? Okay. Because after reading about this, after reading the section of the Faulkner Act, I went to the financial disclosure forms. Spent approximately 5 minutes, and I found two violations. One I think is kind of minor. One is pretty severe. I actually was on the phone earlier today with the DCA. I didn't mention the name of my town or the name of the people, but asking for an opinion on what to do. They're going to the League of Municipalities convention tomorrow, so I'm probably not going to hear from them for a couple of days, or until next week. But the two individuals that I found, and these are documented. The first is Arlene Trumendo. I never met her. She sits on the zoning board. Her spouse is employed by PSE&G. That is one of the forbidden, actually for two reasons, because it's a gas work and a power plant. And just so we're clear, I will read the actual section of the Faulkner, and this is the second half of 163. And no such officer or employee shall be interested directly or indirectly in any contract or job for work or materials or the profits thereof to be furnished or performed for any person operating any interurban railway, street railway, gas works, water works, electric light or power plant, heating plant, telegraph line, telephone exchange, or other public utility within the territorial limits of such municipality.
Josh, can you go back on that for me for a second?
Officer, employee. Sure.
Can you, at the very beginning, you said operating? Can you read that for me, please?
Sure, I'll start from the very beginning. No officer or employee elected or appointed in any municipality shall be interested directly or indirectly in any contract materials or the profits thereof to be furnished or performed for the municipality. And then that's where it turns to what I had already read. And no such officer or employee shall be interested directly or indirectly in any contract or job for work or materials or the profits thereof to be furnished or performed for any person operating an interurban railway, meaning trains.
You know what her husband does at PSE&G, Mr. Berry?
I have no idea.
So you're just coming out and making a statement that that could be in violation?
Correct. And my concern here,
Check that for us?
yeah, well, I've got another one.
Okay.
And my concern here is that we've got exposure as a town. Obviously, we're talking about Faulkner violations, talking about people who are, who may not be qualified to run for office, and something has to be remediated. But I want to focus on the end of this. It mentions telephone exchange or other public utility within the territorial limits of such municipality. I'm defining a other public utility as someone that's governed by the Board of Public Utilities. Do you agree with that assessment?
I'll leave it up to Mr. Cromer to get his opinion on that. You use that.
Okay, Mr. Cromer, will you give an opinion?
I'll review it. I had information that you were making this inquiry, I will review it prior to the meeting, but I'll review it and respond to Council President and Council.
Okay, now, the second individual happens to work for Comcast, which is both a telephone exchange and a public utility that is regulated by the Board of Public Utilities. David Mayer, who's mayor, he is the New Jersey Director of Legislative Affairs for Comcast, and employed. As an employee of Comcast, and I was one, so I know this as a matter, there is stock and profit sharing, as well as courtesy services as a Comcast employee, which are not available to the general public. So I want to make sure that Mrs. DeJoyce gets my letter. Again, I've already reached out to the DCA. I will be hearing back from them. I'm requesting that this is remediated as soon as possible because of the potential exposure that our town has. Having a mayor be eligible to be mayor and a zoning board member who may not be eligible to serve zoning.
Have you made a written communication with local finance for the DCA?
But I have not mentioned names or towns. She was going to get back to me with what's the remediation.
Who should speak to?
I honestly did not write down her name. She's the one that when you send the email to, she's the one who responds. She's the equivalent of the secretary or the clerk. I don't know if I have the full name here of the man who she would be talking to. But I did speak to the local finance part of the DCA. Again, this is something that I think is pretty serious and needs to be addressed. In addition,
If I work for a landscaper, and the landscaper does the fields, does the baseball, does that mean I can't control? That's kind of crazy.
well,
Can I recuse myself on issues dealing with the landscaping contract?
I am not in judgment of Faulkner. This is what Faulkner says. As a
Sometimes we look at things and we have to say, does that sound right?
well,
I have news for you, that don't sound right.
maybe it doesn't sound right, but your council, your law enforcement, our police enforce the laws.
I'm not asking about actual, I'm just saying that your interpretation.
My interpretation,
doesn't sound right.
I'll be honest, I was surprised at telephone.
The interpretation you're applying might not be the correct interpretation.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I am not calling the mayor to step down. I am not calling.
So if I worked for the Sixers, let's say I provided security for the Sixers at their basketball games. Okay. The Sixers are owned by Comcast.
Not anymore.
Well, if they were still owned by Comcast. Now I can't run for political office in this town.
The Sixers are a little different because they're a subsidiary. Comcast Cable has got, and phone, has got a footprint in Gloucester Township. On top of that, a telephone, of which Comcast is. When I spoke to this woman at the DCA, and again, my apologies for not writing her name down, and I mentioned PSE&G and Comcast, yet there must be a conflict. but she has to get back to me, which is why I wrote her, and again, this was mid-morning today, and I just haven't heard back. If that's fair, is it right? The way that this happened, if you're curious about New Jersey history, I suggest you read the Municipal Madness book. It was put out a number of years ago, where it talks about how the railroads corrupted much of the state. And so these utilities would literally put their employees and their people in the council and mayor's office, and then the zoning boards would get exactly what they wanted. It's my opinion in reading this that this was an answer to that. Why would you ban public utilities, especially the telegraph line? I mean, that's incredibly arcane language. A heating plant, right? I don't think anyone uses steam heat anymore. The fact of the matter is, that's the law. And my expectation is that whether it's Mr. Carlmayer or someone is going to be proactive to make sure that our highest elected official, who, hands over the police force over everything, the mayor council team, is not in violation of the Faulkner Act. And to me, that's concerning. And so I'm formally requesting that not only do we adjudicate those two, but because profits of companies are an issue. So if somebody forms an LLC that's not in their name, but they get the money from it, and that LLC gets business from the town, that's illegal. Or that's in violation of law, excuse me. If someone gets a so let's say you're a landscaper, and you get a subcontract from someone, that's indirect. The language is pretty clear.
Thank you, Mr. Berry.
You're welcome. I'm getting Mrs. Joyce to letter.
Anyone else? Jim?
Good evening. Jim Kibbles, 81 Shelley, Ariel. Just a couple of things going back to the recent election we had. 8 of the candidates that came in from council came to our homeowners and spoke very positive about the direction of Gloucester Township. And one of the questions that I asked everybody was, would they be in support of requiring that a percentage of all contracts signed by Gloucester Township would require local businesses to be participating in that, more or less like 10%. Everybody that was there supported it. My question is, one, how do we get something like that legislated and moving so that we can get our economy in this township moving?
Isn't that a violation of the Interstate Commerce Clause?
I don't know, Danny, that's a good question, but I would answer your question, Jim, and then I would ask our solicitor to take a peek at that request and see if we're allowed to do that. I don't know if doesn't. But
there are some contracts that require certain participation of minorities and stuff like that. I would imagine that our small business or businesses in our township would also apply to that.
There was a Buy American clauses that are in a lot of these government purchasing and stuff. I'm not sure how that would be.
Okay. And the second one, the same thing with small business. There is a small business Saturday coming up, November 26th. I sent an email requesting that the township sort of like advertise that on their website and the building signs, the front signs, if that would be a positive thing, because I think that would be a good way of people coming out, because from what I understand, if you just purchase one item from a small business in our township, that will help. Just one person buying one, you get 2 people buying one, it'll build up our economy. All right, so hopefully I will see that on the...
Yeah, Jeff, if I can just add, this is the first I'm hearing about the 10% set aside, if you will, for local, which I'm not disagreeing with. The issue is procurement under government standards. I don't know how that would fit when we have to go out to procure different services, and if our, pricing is not the lowest bidder. So we have to work that out, see how that would play out. I will tell you that tomorrow afternoon at the League of Municipalities, Gloucester Township is being recognized for becoming a sustainable New Jersey community. And one of the aspects of that is to promote our homegrown businesses. And we have done that in a variety of different ways. One, if you look at our website, under sustainable Gloucester Township Sustainable section, it lists almost every business or a lot of our businesses in town to try to promote, folks utilizing our businesses. And then secondly, we work with the farmers market and then folks associated with that this summer to promote local businesses by having kiosks with all the cards and things like that at the farmers market. So any ideas that you have as it relates to that would be great.
So it's sort of like we've got a couple of large projects coming along. I'm saying like if there's some businesses in the township that may be able to do electrical work, carpentry work, something like that, put it out for bid and include it in the project. We need to get our township moving ahead with the small business. That's where growth is going to be.
Well, I can tell you one example, Jim, is we do use a couple vendors. One, Sports Outlet, we give them an opportunity to price on some equipment, stands, spectator stands, and things like that. And they have won that in the past. So we do, I know some of the departments do look towards the folks, as long as it stays within the guidelines. I think that's not a bad idea to give them an opportunity.
I'd be interested to see what this list is coming out. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? So you know?
Public service announcement.
Sure, Mrs. Clark, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the Fairfield Babies is having their Christmas open house this Sunday from 1 to 4, and the students from Glenmore School and Gloucester Township School will be singing. We'll be having violin music inside. Scout Troop will have a campfire outside. It'll be all homemade baked goods and decorated for Christmas. So from 1 to 4, we'll be open for the Christmas open house.
Thank you.
Mr. Malka?
Nothing to report at this time.
Mr. Lechner?
Nothing to report, thanks.
Chief Earl?
Yeah.
Of course, I want to thank Council and the Mayor for the purchasing and funding of the police vehicles. Very well needed, appreciated by all of those Township police officers. And secondly, just to mention that this past Wednesday, one of our police officers, Detective Chuck Dockery, was filmed in New York City on the Anderson Cooper Show. For some work that we're doing here in Gloucester Township, which was recognized nationally in the area next week about the use of social media, specifically YouTube and something online. So I'll let you know when that's going to air. Hopefully sometime next week.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Connor? Mr. Clark? Mr. Hutchinson?
Quickly, I want to congratulate all of the Timber Creek and Tritons for an excellent season and continued success. I attended the New Jersey State Cross Country Championships at Humdale Park, and I saw Highland, including Mr. Van Keating's son, race very well against competition from North Jersey and all throughout the state. Pretty amazing. Jim, I'm all right with the 10% provision. However, it may be considered as an unconstitutional burden on interstate commerce, and that's what I meant by that. Other than that, we can do for local businesses. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Mr. Brodowski?
Congratulations to our elected officials. Focus and target what's happening out in today's economy. Again, thank all the residents for coming out. Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Mr. Schmidt? Mrs. Genter? I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. And our Buy Local campaign is very important to me. So if you'd like to, there's other ways that we can build it a little more. And so if you would like to be a part of the subcommittee for that team, that would be great. Because they do give us other ideas as far as just bringing the stores and putting signage up and a way about Buy Local. We would love to have you be a part of that. So we welcome you to I'll let you know our next meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. McConnor?
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. If you can keep in your prayers the Bill Collins family, his father passed away this past week, and also the chairman of the zoning board, Bob Richards. Keep in your prayers. I also want to, they're not here today, but I want to thank Linda Musser, Sam Garrett, easy putting your name on the ballot. It's hard work, it takes a lot of time away from your family, but they wanted to give back to their community, and I have no problem with that. So, thank you very much. Also, congratulations to our Assemblywoman-elect, Gabrielle Mosquera. I think she's in the back there. But thank you for coming out this evening. Have a good evening.
Mr. Bianchini.
I'd like to thank all the residents for attending tonight's meeting. I too want to congratulate the Triton Marching Band for winning the ACC's, also Highland Cross Country team for winning the Tri-County Conference Championship. I too want to thank all the folks that ran for office. As Mr. Mercado stated, it's not easy to put your name on the ballot and try to run a good campaign. And so I thank Linda and Ted Liddell and Erica Weissman and Sam Darrow and Darren Gladden and all the other officials who ran for the state legislators. And wanting to get back to your township, to your community is something that is wonderful. And I think all the people that do it deserve an applause, and I thank each and every one of them. With that, I ask for a motion to adjourn. So, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Yes, right.